Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys have had a great week. It's the holiday weekend, it's Labor Day weekend. I think Monday is actually Labor Day, right? So today should be what, the 3rd or the 4th? I don't remember, but anyway, my anniversary usually falls right on the holiday weekend, but this time it fell during the week, and the holiday weekend doesn't start until, actually, I guess Labor Day is the 7th. I don't remember now. I can't remember. Anyway, I found something at the store I wanted to try with you guys. Well, you already see something I'm going to try. I'm going to try this cheesecake. New York style cheesecake. I got the 2-slice container because I'm going to share one with my husband. We like cheesecake around the house, you know, but instead of making a whole big cheesecake right now, I just thought I'd just get 2 slices, the 2 slices. Pretty good deal. So, like I said, I hope everybody's had a good week so far. So let me put my spoon down. I have something else I wanted to show you that I found. I don't know how long this has been out, but it is the Philly cheesesteak potato chips by Lay's. Now, I don't know how long they've been out. I really don't. I just found these. And it's inspired by Gino's Steaks, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Awesome. I like a Philly steak sandwich now. I really do. So let's open it up and see what they taste like. I can open them. I just don't want to rip the bag and then all the potato chips fly everywhere. Oh, wow. Already right off the bat, look at the edge of the bag right there. You see all that sauce seasoning is all over the edge of the bag. That's good. See, it's on the edge of that bag. It's like all around the edge. Here's what they look like. Let's take one out. Here's a close-up. Let me cover my face. Let me turn the bag around so you can see. Let me cover my face. Get a little peek here. Whoops. Over here is the, there you go. Can you see it? Look at all that seasoning all over it. Let's give it a try. Okay. That's pretty good. I taste cheese. I taste what tastes like steak. Well, that's really good. Yep. Oh wow, that's pretty good. Okay. That's pretty good, y'all. I like these. I like these better than the taco. Remember when they came out with the, what was that taco? I forget the name of the taco potato chip. But you remember that taco not long ago they come out with? I like it better than that one. I don't remember if I did a video trying the taco potato chips. I don't remember if I did or not. I don't think I did. If I didn't, I should have, because I like them, but I like these better. Now, there was a potato chip that I found that Pringles put out, and the only place I found it, which it could have been at Walmart and other places, I just didn't notice it, or maybe they were sold out, but it was the what do they call that again? The Baconator. You know how Wendy's has the Baconator sandwich, right? I like their Baconator hamburgers. I really do. I said sandwich. It's a hamburger. Well, they had, Pringles put out the Baconator potato chips. The Wendy's Baconator potato chips, what they did. You know, the Wendy's Baconator. And they put it in a potato chip. Well, I tried it. I didn't like it. The first couple of potato chips, I was like, this is pretty good. You know, you could taste the bacon, you could taste a little cheese, but this flavor that was supposed to resemble a hamburger flavor, it was okay the first few potato chips, but I started getting this aftertaste that just kept lingering in my mouth, and I'm like, can't get rid of that. This has a little bit of an aftertaste, but of course you're gonna realize, you understand that when they try to replicate, or is that the right word? Try to make a potato chip taste like that steak, that some of these seasonings are going to linger in your mouth. Now this one is not bad because the lingering doesn't stay there for very long. I don't like a potato chip where the flavor just stays with you. And I mean like 2 or 3, 5 minutes later, the flavor is still in your mouth and you're like, and you're drinking. And you still can't get rid of that taste completely. I don't like that. So I did start doing a video of the Baconator potato chips made by Pringles, and I got it at the dollar store, and I forget how much I paid for them. I really don't remember. They were worth $1. That's about it, but you know. But I didn't put the video up because I did not like the potato chips after I ate a few. And I felt like I was deceiving by saying, oh, these are so good, you should get out and try them. I felt like I was being deceitful, deceiving, and I didn't think that was fair. I just didn't think it was fair. Now, some people might try them and they really love them. That's okay. But I just didn't feel right putting a video out saying, hey, these are really good. Get out to your local dollar store, because if they've got them, you want to get you a package before they're gone. So, no. So anyway, these are good. These are good. I'm telling you, look at that. And you can see there's seasoning around the bag. That's really good. I like them. I really like them. Because even after I took a drink, I wasn't tasting it no more. And I like that. I like to be able to come back and get that flavor again and again and again, you know? Pringles puts out some good potato chips. I like their barbecue, but they don't like me no more. I like their sour cream and onion. I like the ranch. But I like a potato chip that has seasoning on both sides. So Pringles should make their chips where they got seasonings on both sides. It would be even much better. They're good, but they'd even be 10 times better more if they had seasoning on both sides. This is why I love Lay's potato chips, because when they season the potato chips, they put it on both sides. They're not stingy. So if you like Lay's potato chips and you have not tried the Philly cheesesteak sandwich potato chips yet, be sure and get out there and get a bag of it and give it a try. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. Can y'all hear that? I hear cars again. Friday, this is Friday night, you guys, and the town that I work in, it's a full moon, and people are just like going nuts. They're going nuts. Put that to the side. We're going to eat a little cheesecake. And I'm going to tell you a story. So this video will probably be about 20 minutes long. So if you don't want to listen to the story that I got to tell you about, it's story time, I guess you could say, about something that happened to me back in July that I would like to share with you, because what I went through was fairly rare for an adult to go through. And I thought, you know, it's a good idea if I share this with you in case it happens to you. Now, I don't know if any of y'all have gone back and watched any of my videos, and if you've watched the one where I was eating some Popeye's chicken, and I mentioned something about my food was getting lodged in my esophagus. Well, while we're talking, I'm going to open this cheesecake up. This New York cheesecake. First, I got to figure out how to open it up. So what happened was, it's July the 5th. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get this open? Here we go. July the 5th, I was cooking some fried chicken. Fried chicken tenderloin. Give you a close-up of this while we're talking. Yeah, baby. Take a bite of the back here because it'll be a lot easier to get to. Give you the first bite here. There you go. Doesn't that look good? My hands are still shaking a little bit, you guys. I need to eat some more. Oh my goodness. That is so good. So anyway, July the 5th, I was cooking some fried chicken tenderloins for the family. It was late because, you know, it'd be like for like a late night snack, you know, just something to munch on. And I took a little piece of it, and I was tasting, I wanted to taste it because I'm getting hungry. While I was finishing up the rest of the chicken, finishing cooking the rest of the chicken tenderloins. Well, I have an issue with food getting stuck in my down here in my esophagus, and it used to get. Here's your trachea, okay? My food used to get stuck anywhere between just below the trachea and right about where I'm pointing at now, somewhere around in there. That's above your breast line, okay? And that night, the chicken decided to get stuck right about here. Well, at first it was up here a little bit, but when it sits there for a few seconds, it'll either move or it won't move, and sometimes it won't move, and my body starts going into this mode of, we better get rid of it. And my body will force me to purge it up. I don't even know it's coming on. It just happens. You don't get no warning. I don't anyway. So anyway, the food was stuck right here. So, I finished cooking up the chicken. It was still sitting there. It wouldn't move. And so I took a little drink and it moved down. This is after I started getting everything finished up and put away. It was still sitting there. This has been a few minutes now. And of course, my body didn't force me to purge, which I'm surprised, I guess, because I kept myself distracted. And so I took a drink. I think I had some juice or water or something with me. Anyway, and it moved down just a little bit, like right about just a little down it moved. And I started becoming very uncomfortable. It was really painful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this has never happened before. I mean, it's been lodged before, and either it goes down on its own within a minute or so, or I end up, which is not very often, that I purge it back up. And I thought to myself, I don't know what's going on here. I'm a little concerned because this has never happened before, right? So anyway, I go upstairs, and my husband, he fell asleep. I think this was a Sunday night. I know it was July 5th. And I think it was probably around 8 o'clock when it first got lodged. So anywhere between 8 and 8:30, the piece of chicken tenderloin that I chewed up and swallowed, like I said, it moved, and then I started becoming in excruciating pain because my esophagus was spazzing, trying to get the food to move down, right? That's what it normally does. It'll squeeze like this to move and open up so the food goes down. Well, like I said, I was in some pain. So when I got upstairs, it was just, I was hurting so bad. I was really hurting. And I just dealt with it and dealt with it and dealt with it for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Time flew by for me, y'all. It really did. Anyway. I tried to say my husband's name because the pain was just getting really, really bad. And I couldn't hardly say his name. Like I said, this video is going to probably be over 20 minutes long. So if you guys don't want to listen, just skip on through and till you find bits and pieces, till you get the whole story, whatever. Because it's going to be a long story. So, like I said, I knew I decided that this was not going to stop and that I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. And I was really trying my best to prevent having to make a trip to the emergency room. I didn't want to do that with this bug that's going on around right now. I really didn't want to take a chance of that because I don't have a spleen, you guys. And me not having a spleen, I'm susceptible. I can, if I get a virus or a bacterial infection of any kind, it can make me really, really, really sick. Twice as sick as a normal person. And it makes it harder for me to get rid of it sometimes. But, it takes me a little longer to get rid of it. Of the flu or stuff like that, for example. But anyway, and it could even kill me. The flu could even kill me. It just depends. But anyway, so I tried to say my husband's name, and I couldn't even get his name out. I really couldn't. I tried to say his name, and then nothing was coming out because I was in excruciating pain. Now, pain level was at least a 10. Okay? So finally, I got his name out. And I only had to say it once. And he woke up out of a dead sleep. What's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, I got food stuck in my esophagus. I could barely say it. And so he's like, what do we do? What can I do? What can I do, honey? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. And so he Googled it, and he goes, it says right here that if you get something stuck in your esophagus, drink something carbonated. And that should help open the esophagus up and make it move down. So I had some soda pops sitting on my table. I had a glass of juice and a glass of water. Because I'm trying to drink more water, you know. Because it's so hot and everything. And so I reached over and I thought, okay. So I reached over finally after a minute or so. And every time I would drink water or anything between the time that it started and I was in my room up to the time my husband woke up, every time I took a drink of something, guess what happened? Yeah, it came right back out. But what was stuck there wasn't coming out. So my body just kept trying and trying and trying. But anyway, I took a drink of this soda pop. And when I did, y'all, you talk about, oh my God, it was the worst pain I ever felt in my life. It felt like that piece of chicken that was stuck right here, twisted. It felt like it just turned. And it felt like inside of my chest was this balloon that you put when you take a balloon and you stick it to that little nipple on those big gas tanks to air them up, you know. It felt like all of a sudden this balloon just aired up in my chest, and it felt like there was knives all over it or spikes, you know. It was horrible. It was a horrible, horrible pain. And it just, I knew it moved because I could feel it move. And it moved down between our boobie areas. It moved right down between our breast cavity, right there. And it stopped. And it wouldn't move anymore. I thought that the bones of my chest were rising up. I swear, I felt like they were being pushed up. The bone was being literally pushed up away from. That was the worst pain. I can't describe how much pain that was. So a few minutes later, I just kept moaning and moaning with this pain, and it wasn't getting any better. It had gotten worse. So I said, we got to go to the emergency room. I have no other choice. We got to go. I've been dealing with this for quite some time now, and it's not doing anything. It's gotten worse. So got to the emergency room. They took me to the back. They put an IV in my hand. They gave me some medication to relax me, in hopes that I would relax enough that the food would move on down it by itself. Well, an hour or so later, it still hadn't done anything. Nothing's changed. So then they gave me a shot of pain medication. It didn't do nothing. It didn't stop the pain. It didn't touch the pain. It didn't even ease the pain up. It didn't do nothing, y'all. It was like trying to give me an aspirin for something that I couldn't, it wasn't going to work. So, well, of course, an aspirin's not going to work for the condition I was in at that moment. So, so about an hour or so later, well, not long after they gave me the pain shot, they said, we're going to have to transfer you to another hospital because we don't have, our hospital's not set up to have a gastrologist here and stuff like that, which I knew that because it's a smaller hospital. Okay. So we were waiting on this ambulance to get here. So, excuse me. So about an hour and a half later, I guess, I was at this emergency room for 4 hours, you guys. So about an hour and a half later, after that after that dose of pain medicine that they gave me in the IV, they came in and gave me a different type of pain medication. It was a little bit stronger. When they gave it to me, my body eased up just a little bit to where I was a little bit more relaxed. And you know, they could tell by my blood pressure how stressed I was. And lo and behold, within a few minutes after they gave, it seemed like a few minutes, it might have been a half hour after they gave me that last dose of pain medicine, here comes the ambulance. So they take me to the next hospital, right? And this is about 3:30 in the morning, 3:45 in the morning when they pick me up. And they get me to the next hospital around 4 a.m. See, I got to the emergency room, the first emergency room, around 11:15. So I'm in there this whole time, all night long. I'm in this condition. I'm having this spasm. I'm in extreme pain, a 10 plus 10, let's put it that way. That's how painful it was. And 11:15 the next morning, or that morning, because we was already in the next day, around 11:15, they took me to there's a part, you know, they have different sections of the hospital for different things, surgery-wise, and the surgery area they have is for gastrology surgery. They took me down there and got me prepped up to do the scope. He went down in my scope, and he went down in my throat, he scoped my throat. Next thing you know, I'm back in my room. The nurse who had been tending to me before she took me back there, or before I went back to there to have the scope done, she well, of course, they let me rest, you know, because I was sleeping in and off, on and off, because I didn't sleep all night long. So when they put me to sleep in the operating room, of course, I came back to my room and I was in and out sleeping. So she would come in and see I was sleeping, and she wouldn't bother me. So when I was awake and staying, when she came in there when I was still, while I was awake, she says, "You were right about your esophagus. You said that you thought that you felt like you had a couple of tears in your esophagus when this was going on." She said, "You were correct. You had 2 tears inside your esophagus." She said, you tore your esophagus in 2 places. I was like, wow, I had 2 tears. I left out some information. This cheesecake is so creamy. Oh my gosh, it's delicious. New York cheesecake. When I was at the first emergency room, you hear that? Another cop car or an ambulance one. Sound like a police car. They've been going on all night long. This is a full moon tonight. People are out going nuts. They're out partying and stuff. There's a lot going on tonight. Anyway, at the first emergency room, the nurse that was tending to me was a man, and he said, "It is very rare to see an adult come in here with food lodged in their esophagus like yours." And I'm sure they didn't know exactly how serious it was, but of course they did an x-ray while I was there to make sure there was no bone in there, in my esophagus, make sure there's no bone stuck. And they didn't see any bone stuck, but there was something lodged there. So, like he said, it's rare for an adult to come into the emergency room or to the hospital with food stuck in their esophagus, and they can't get it unlodged by giving you medication to relax you and stuff. They say mostly it's children that come in the hospital with this issue because they don't really understand that they need to chew their food really well. And I'm like, well, I chewed my food really well. I don't know why, but I've been having issues with my esophagus since January, where almost every day I was getting something lodged in my esophagus, but it would move it would move down over time. But it was getting worse, but this was the worst I've ever been. I never felt like this before. But like that nurse said, this is a very rare thing to happen for adults. So I'm telling you guys what I went through. You don't want to go through. If you are having issues with your esophagus when you eat, anytime that you eat, I don't care if it's once a week when this happens, I don't care if it's just once a month, tell your doctor about it, because if it gets worse, you could end up in the same position I ended up in. You could end up in surgery. So the next day, after they'd done my scopes, they went down and unlodged that piece of food and seen the 2 tears. The next day, after I rested throughout the day, the doctor came in, the esophagus doctor came in, the gastrologist, and he said, "You did have some tears in your esophagus." He said, it's a good thing that it didn't tear all the way through your esophagus, because if it had of, you would have been in a more dangerous situation, because the acid comes up through your esophagus, it'll come out the hole, and next thing I know and our stomach acid is some pretty rapid. It's pretty tough. It can eat up some shit, let me tell you. So if it was to have gotten out of my esophagus and into my body, I'd have been in a lot more dangerous position. I'd have been in a more dangerous situation, because I was already in a bad position and in a bad situation at that time, just having it lodged and tore my esophagus. But it's a lucky thing that it didn't tear all the way through. And I think because I stayed extremely calm and didn't keep drinking huge gulps of something to try to get it washed, to get it to move down, it helped prevent from tearing worse. Because that one gulp of soda pop made that second tear, and I didn't drink any more after that. So I was pretty lucky, maybe because I was smart enough not to drink anymore, and I don't know. But anyway, so I have to see the gastrologist again on the 15th of this month, which is a little over a week away, and I'm going to see what he says. I hope that he can go in and maybe stretch my esophagus out so that I can eat without food getting lodged in my esophagus every time I eat, because every time I eat, food still gets lodged in my esophagus, y'all. And it's painful. It really is. It's painful. And if it doesn't move down, I end up purging it up, and that's just, it's getting old. It really is. So I don't know what's going on. I hope that whatever happens with this visit to this gastrologist, that he can maybe help me, because I'd like to be able to eat like normal and enjoy my food instead of being so concerned about, oh my God, I gotta take some real teeny tiny bite. Swallow real little teeny tiny bits of pieces at a time, and it takes me twice as long to eat now because I have to eat. And I chew everything up really well, but I have to swallow in very tiny amounts. And even then, I still get food stuck in my esophagus. Isn't that something, you guys? So that's why I wanted to tell you guys what's going on with me and what happened, because this is a rare thing to happen for adults. Like the nurse said at the hospital, this is something that you don't see in the hospital very often, is an adult in here with food stuck in their esophagus and can't get it to go down. And also, it's rare that my esophagus tore just because of a little piece of chicken meat in my esophagus, and it tore my esophagus. So this is something that was really rare to happen, but it can happen. So I wanted to share with you guys, and I knew it was going to take me over 20 minutes because I like to give you as many details as I can so you can understand what really went on and maybe how I felt, whatever. So I hope I explained it as well as I hope I explained it enough that you guys could really understand what I went through. Because I'm telling you, I'm still dealing with it on a daily basis. And they let me out of the hospital. See, I went in Sunday night at 11:15, and I didn't leave until Tuesday afternoon around 4 or 5 o'clock. But I was able to eat solid food, and it went down, but it was painful. It has taken me 8 weeks for these 2 tears in my esophagus to heal up. And even though it's been 8 weeks, it'll be 8 weeks on the 7th. Yeah, be 8 weeks on the 7th. I'm still having problems. The food gets stuck down here at the bottom, where the bottom of your esophagus is, just above your stomach. And it gets stuck right there. And sometimes it just won't move, and I have to purge it back up, because I know it's going to happen. I don't do it myself. I don't get nauseous or nothing. It just happens. And I'm telling you, if you have issues with your esophagus, if you ever have issues with even just a little bit of food getting stuck in your esophagus, and it continues to happen, see your doctor about it and have him set you up with a gastrologist. And don't let this gastrologist say, well, it's okay, there's nothing we can do. You keep going back, because what they can do is they can stretch your esophagus out. I may have to go back to the gastrologist once a year and have this done. I don't know. I know my mother has the same problem, but hers is nothing near as serious as mine. Hers is mild compared to mine. I also learned that this type of issue could be caused by acid reflux. So if you have a lot of acid indigestion, and you take antacids every single day for a week or 2 weeks or a month, and you're still having the problem, talk to your doctor. See a gastrologist. See if they can recommend something. And if you do whatever the doctor says and you get your acid indigestion under control and it comes back again, talk to your doctor. Continue talking to your doctor about this problem until you can find something to help you, or maybe you can resolve it, because now these doctors can't cure everything, but they won't know how to help you if you don't go in there and let them look at you and try something, because that's how doctors learn. They learn by trial and error. And like with this esophagus issue, there may not be anything they can do for me right now except stretch my esophagus out in hopes that it will stay stretched out enough to where my food will stop getting lodged as it's going down my esophagus. Could it be that my esophagus is no longer flexing like it should? That's very possible. What can he do about that? I don't know. I know people come down with esophageal cancer. I sure hope I don't have that. Or I hope that in the future I don't get that, because people that I've seen with esophageal cancer has not been a very good situation. Not been very good at all. So anyway, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll try to keep you up to date on it. Like I said, this video is going to probably be over 20-30 minutes long now, and I hope you're still with me. If you're not, I understand. It is a long video. I get it. But this is something I wanted to share with everybody, because it can happen to you. It can happen to any adult in this world. It's a rare case, but it can happen. So acid indigestion is one of the biggest things that causes this problem. Another thing could be medication that you're taking. And maybe the medication you're taking is somehow irritating your body and causing your esophagus to get inflamed, and maybe that's why your food's getting lodged. Who knows? But you need to see your doctor about it and tell your doctor what's going on and try something to see if it helps. If that don't work, go right back. Try something else. If that don't work, go see a gastrologist. You have got to do something, because you've got to be your own advocate. If you don't get out there and do something, they're not going to know how to help you. And if they don't know what to do to fix it, how are they going to learn until enough people or you keep going back until they maybe you might teach them something, and then they can help the next person, you know? So I just hope that whatever's going on, that they can help me, because this is getting to be very annoying for me. I'm afraid to eat a sandwich. I'm afraid to eat fried chicken. I mean, I've eaten some chicken, don't get me wrong, but I'm scared to eat it, but I'll do it. Hot dogs, I really love hot dogs, but I'm afraid to eat those because I'm afraid it's going to get stuck in my esophagus. But you know, when I eat, I have to make sure I swallow very, very tiny amounts of food at a time, and so it takes me 2 to 3 times longer to finish my meal than it does an average person. And you know how hard that's for me? I want to keep up with everybody else. I don't know how else to express how irritating and aggravating the situation is. I'm eating cheesecake, and that's the easiest thing to go down my throat. It turns into basically liquid by the time I'm done chewing it up. So that's nothing. This isn't even getting stuck in my esophagus. The potato chips, I chewed them up and swallowed small amounts, and that didn't get stuck in my esophagus. But it could have. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. So I hope that you watched all the way through and you listened to everything that was going on. If there's anything that you want to ask me about this kind of condition, ask me, and I'll do the best I can to answer to you, because I don't know a lot about this, but I'm learning. I will learn some more as I go to the gastrologist. So hopefully I'll learn some more. But anyway, like I said before, if you keep having acid indigestion, go to your doctor about it, because I think that's what caused my problem, is acid indigestion, because I have a bad case of acid indigestion, and I have it quite often, and I have had it for many years. So take care of yourself, okay? Don't be like me and let it keep going on and on and on and wait 6 months later and tell your doctor, because I waited a long time before I told my doctor. And guess what? I told her on the 3rd week of June, I saw her, and I told her about the esophagus problem I'm having. So she said, well, let's set you up with a gastrologist. Well, we had one set up for August. 2 weeks later, I'm in the hospital with a torn esophagus. And she was there doing rounds. She comes to the hospital and checks on patients and things like that. And she came in and checked on me a couple of times. So you see how quick it can change? So yeah. All right, you guys, I'm going to get off here now. I'm going to finish up this last little bite of cheesecake here. Try to save the other half for my husband. You hear that? I'm going to try. Thank you for stopping by and listening. And if you listened to the whole video, I appreciate it. And I thank you very much for listening, because I wanted to share my experience with you in hopes that if you are even having any kind of these symptoms, to watch out for your esophagus. If you're having any issues with anything getting stuck in your esophagus, please talk to your doctor about it, please, and go see a gastrologist and explain to your gastrologist what's going on, and explain to your gastrologist that you are very concerned that it's just going to get worse. What if something happens? What if the food gets lodged and doesn't move? You know, what's the next step? You know what I mean? Just really do some research or whatever it takes to understand this condition, because I don't even understand it myself. I'm still learning. And I'm stubborn. I'm the combination of a donkey, jackass, and a mule put together. That's how stubborn I am. So, anyway, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, actually. And keep an eye out for my next video, because you never know what I'm going to post next. Neither do I. I never know what I'm going to come up with next. I don't post every day, but I try to post often. So, again, thank you for stopping by. Have a happy Labor Day weekend. And yeah, stay healthy and stay safe, okay? And enjoy yourself this weekend. Don't drink and drive, okay? That's not good. Don't drink and drive. All right, you guys. I love each and every one of you, even though I don't know who you are. I'm sending everybody in the world lots of love because we need, this world needs some love. We need to spread some more love with each other, to the whole world, to everybody, even people we don't know. Send them love. If you see people on TV, on the news that are fighting and carrying on with you, send them some love, okay? All right, you guys. I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go to work, and I will talk to you guys again on my next video. You never know what it's going to be, so I'll see you then, okay? Bye, everybody.